everyone, and welcome to the Next Best Picture podcast, where we are talking with Aaron Jackson and Josh Sharp, the writers, stars, producers, creators, everything of Dicks, the musical, the movie. Aaron, Josh, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us, Stan.
I am so excited to be talking to the fucking identical twins themselves. And the story of this movie is one of the craziest I can think of in recent cinematic memory. This started off as a half-hour UCB musical off Broadway.
Thank you.
Did you ever think that this would become a movie?
Well, this is pretty industry standard, actually. Nomadland started the same way.
Yes, on the road.
30 minutes.
But no, absolutely not.
Yeah, we were we were just doing it for fun, and we thought maybe it would lead to some sort of maybe we'd get a meeting with somebody about something else. And then Churn Entertainment saw it, and they were, Corey Adelson was like, do you want it to be a movie? And we were like, absolutely. And we always did.
Of
course. For a while, it
course.
was in development at Fox, who sort of paid us to write it as a feature script. And then we're like, this isn't a Fox movie. And we were like, totally. And then it got an A24, which was sort of probably a more logical home for a run-of-the-mill film such as this.
Yeah.
And so that was just what someone happened to see your show who was in a certain position, and they just enjoyed it.
Our agent invited people to come see
Okay,
it.
there you go.
We also weirdly did it for a long time. Like back in those days, UCB, you'd do a show for 3 months and do it a handful of times, but it became this weird little hit, particularly with the emerging queer comedian set in New York City. So we did it for a year and a half or more.
Wow.
So it was a long time of doing it as a little black box show in the basement of a Gristedes grocery store. And then now it's a movie.
Now it's a movie, a feature film.
And no steps in between. That was just A to B.
Nothing in between at all. And it is certainly one of the most unique, absurd feature film experiences that I've ever had in a movie theater, and all the better for it.
And an obvious play for Best Picture. So I'm glad we're talking to you. As you can tell, I know people complain about these types of movies that are so obvious awards bait.
Please. I mean, what else were the awards made for, if not to honor such achievements? I mean, and we do have to bring it up because it is so incredibly brave of the two of you homosexuals to be playing such masculine heterosexual men as the leads of this film.
Thank you.
That opening text to the movie, which so perfectly sets the tone. Where did that come in the process for you guys?
We used to at the out on the UCB, the stage show, we would have the tech or whoever do a voiceover that said something similar to that, gay men.
Oh, wow.
And so that's kind of always been in the DNA of
but it wasn't in the movie again until the very end. We sort of it got repitched, and
it was in the screenplay, and then they cut it, and then we were like, what if we put that back in?
I do think, especially because we are, as nobodies, that it's nice to sort of signify to the audience immediately what you're getting. And we always call it straight man drag, where in the same way that a drag queen is not really trying to perform femininity with accuracy, we are sort of taking that as and blowing it out full clown style, which is sort of what everybody in the film is doing in their own ways. It's a bunch of clowns,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's great, and you're absolutely right. It just it sets the tone for the movie. This is the type of humor that we're going to throw at you for the next little while, and it's great. Exactly.
And have it be known, we came from a great place of great learnedness. We both lived as straight men for many, many years before coming out, and that was all, of course, preparation.
Right. It's all that form of research. I mean, you went method. You went full method.
Every gay person Yeah, every gay person can play straight because they all were method for many years.
It's so true. um it's funny that you're saying that like that opening text was always sort of part of the DNA of this, you know, like expanding something from a 30-minute two-person show to a, you know, hour plus feature film, that you have to add a lot. And like the first thing that I have to know if this was in the sewer boys. Was that
Yeah,
always part of the
they were
DNA?
throwaway jokes. They were just sort of mentioned
Oh,
as
really?
like one verse of a song we mentioned and made a joke about, like, you know, sewer boys, pale little inbred fellows live underground, you know, and then we moved on. So then when it became a film, that was one of those things that we were like, oh, you could blow this out. And for Aaron and I, we were like,
Yeah.
they have to be puppets, you know.
Happy to expand. Yeah, we again the UCB show we did for $0, so we couldn't
Negative even.
negative money even, yeah. So we couldn't do, like, you know, you can't blow it out in this way. It was just Josh and I. We had no puppeteers or and you know, we sourced the costumes and wigs ourselves. So yeah, that was the fun thing about even our small budget was getting to blow out this in a way, yeah, where you get to have the sewer boys actualized and then they become quite integral to the plot.
Yeah. And we love some of those, like, I mean, 80s and 90s, like Gremlins and Labyrinth, and Crystal, and even like Jurassic Park when you would do more of the like practical stuff. And again, of course, that was born creatively and also out of necessity because this is not a film that has a huge CGI budget. Obviously, we sort of made it for a sandwich and a dream, you know? So like it was like fun to get to do like that kind of thing that we liked. And the Bob Barker Marionette Theater in LA, they puppeteered it and they were incredible. So
incredible.
Puppets are having a moment. Baby Yoda swept the world.
I mean, truly.
Baby Yoda walks so Backpack and Whisper could run.
Could waddle.
Amen. How did, when you decided that, you know, you're going to have these, and then obviously they have to be puppets, how many iterations of what they looked like did you go through?
Larry worked with Larry Charles, the fabulous, incredible Larry Charles, our director.
Yes.
He worked more with them, with the creators of the puppets than we did, but we sent him like a mood board early on of like everything we mentioned, you know, also with like Slender Man and Gollum and, you know, sort of like creatures that were like, we envisioned them in this world. And then I think he did a sketch and sent it to them, and then they worked together on it. So
sorry. I was gonna say, I also recall, like, Aaron and I don't do a lot of stage direction unless it's like to serve a joke. Like, we love to hide jokes everywhere, but in general, we're like, you don't need a lot of stage direction for this kind of movie, until it got to the sewer boys, and then it's like 4 block paragraphs, like explaining them in great detail. Like, they are from hell. You know, it's like that was something I think we were like, you gotta know what this is.
From hell, aka the New York City sewer.
Exactly.
It writes itself.
Yeah.
And I mean, and Larry Charles, brilliant comedic mind, Seinfeld, Borat, all these, you know, incredible comedies. Did you always have him in mind as someone that you wanted to direct this extravaganza?
We were very worried about anyone directing it because it's such a specific tone, and you could really go south in the wrong hands. So I think A24 and Chernin came up with the Larry Charles idea, and then he read the script and he saw a video of the stage show and he loved it. And then we had a meeting with him and we like instantly loved him, and he encouraged us to push it even farther, you know. So, you know, we're like, oh God, he's so brilliant, but I don't know, like, I hope he gets it. And then not only did he get it, he made it excel. He made it sing, and it's a musical, so we needed some singing.
Let's just say there wasn't always a sex scene, and Larry Charles was like, there has to be.
Spoiler.
Well, that's now in the press, I find. Every headline is like mentioning that, but yes, feel free to hide that spoiler if you don't.
Well, I love that he like one-upped you guys. Yeah. He was like, you know what, this can be even crazier.
Exactly. He was like,
well, he was always of the mindset that he was like, people will know if this film holds back even for 1 second, even for one scene. So he was very big of like, we should never be holding anything back. And even if it means like you do things that don't work, he's like, you should be like pushing in every direction rather than trying to rein it in.
Yeah, that's really, did he encourage you to push that script like even further?
Yeah, and everything, performance, script. He was was very much a champion of the piece and very much understood it from day dot, as they say in Australia. And he really, he pushed us in every direction, I would say.
Well, at the same time, he was like really big on the old stage show and like how compact and Runaway Train it was. So like I remember when we had a Fox script, it was like this big sprawling world building mess and he was like, no, you need to like rein it in and just make it about them and the family and this like crazy adventure they go on. But then like scene by scene and joke by joke, he was like never hold back like with the sensibility. But I remember he also was like, it has to be this like tight little crazy story. So he was like very good at like almost like reining in the story while pushing out the POV and the jokes and the sensibility.
And it goes very, very, very far. I know you made it for, as you said, a Sandwich and a Dream, but like the most visceral special effect I think I've seen in many a year. That flying vagina.
Yeah, I know.
This butterfly I can't. Moving aside from that for a second, I just had to mention it because what was it like writing a rap for Megan Thee Stallion?
That was wild.
Because once you get
really
her,
believe it happened. Yeah.
We got her, so we shot in February, we rehearsed in January, and I think it was like we officially got her in December, right, Josh? Something like that.
I think so.
So it was very soon before shooting, and then it still was like, oh, maybe she wants to write it, maybe her team, so the song stayed sort of just like a bookmark for a long time, and then it was like, okay, they're ready, you need to write it, she's coming in like next week for rehearsal. And it was like, oh shit. So that was with Marius DeVry and Carl St. Lucie. We all, and Fiora Cutler, our music supervisor, but we all had like a little think tank moment and blew this song out, and that was crazy. The craziest too was when she'd recorded it and we got to hear it, it's like, it was so,
yeah,
that was mine.
I think we also imagined, we were like, I mean, we wrote these wild lyrics and sent them to her, and we're like, and she probably won't do all that, like she'll have to change some, and she rapped the text. She came in that first day and was like, people know I'm dirty, but y'all are dirty. And we were like, wow, respect, game season.
I love it. Did you ever consider letting her freestyle at all?
We would have done truly anything she wanted to do. She'd shoot me in the head with a gun. I would allow it.
Yeah.
She was incredible to work with because I think she was very much like, I want to do right by y'all. I want to make this work for y'all. Like she was like, she brought so much of herself to it, obviously, and she's such an incredible like performer and dancer and like put full Megan Thee Stallion into everything. But it wasn't a thing where she wanted to like, she was very down to go with it and roll with it, which was like incredible. I mean, we would have again let her spit in our faces if she wanted to, but
yeah.
We were rehearsing, and there's a very wordy verse, and she was and she's learning all the dance moves, and she was like, she couldn't remember all the words. So she was like, what are the words? And I was just standing there and like looking straight into her eyes and saying all this filth, and she repeat it back to me, and I was like, that a treasure locked into my mind ever.
Yeah. Uncredited vocal coach for Megan Thee Stallion.
I mean, you had your treasure moment, and now you have unleashed this treasure on
it was
on the
incredible
world.
to watch. Aaron, like one feet from her being like, bank vault throbbing, swimming in cash, Scrooge motherfucking McDuck, and her being like, bank vault throbbing, swimming, it was like, wow.
Pussy and find my clit.
It's amazing. Aaron, Josh, thank you so much for joining us. We are almost out of time, but before we go, I have to ask, was this what you always envisioned, or was it better?
Better.
Oh, movie. We're so excited for people to see it. It's our nasty little fever dream.
Yeah, and we always sort of set out to be like, this is just a movie for us. Like, we just made our own favorite movie. So I feel like that's still true, and yet at the same time, we got to collaborate with so many incredible people like across the board who just like blew it out in ways that were like shocking and surprising. So we feel very like thankful and also like just amazed that it got made and came out the way it did.
Yeah, I mean, and having been in the audience at that Midnight Madness premiere at TIFF, it is not just a movie for you guys. So many sickos are gonna love this.
I know.
And I'm one of them.
We were texting Larry, and Larry was like, I think they need to market this film for truants and deviants. And we were like, I have a feeling they're going to, but we'll pass that along.
Aaron Jackson, Josh Sharp, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, and everyone I can't see. Au revoir. Thank you.
Bye, Dan. Nice
It's
to meet you.
fun.
Thank you.
Meet you all.